Party, it's the after party.
Okay. Okay.
No hotel lobbies though. Corona, COVID. No hotel lobbies.
6 feet.
Awesome. So we have some of the nominees as well as some of the winners here joining us tonight, as well as some of the team. So I guess if everybody could just talk a little bit about themselves, and let's go Tyrell, then let's go with Behind the Mask, and then Patrice. Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about your show. Just what kind of excited you tonight?
Yeah, for sure. I know I'm just happy to be here. Really happy that the Black Podcast Awards, took place. I think having the space to just recognize a lot of the great work that everyone has done is just really, really, really great experience. So I'm really fortunate to just an honor to be a part of this at the very minimum. But my name's Terrell Connor. I am a co-host of the Black and Highly Dangerous podcast, where our main goal is to seek to spread knowledge and raise awareness on a lot of issues going on in our communities. We touch and we reach a lot of Black academics all across the country, where they come on and talk about their work, talking about things about, social linguists, politics. It can be all kinds of stuff, just to come on and talk about their books and articles, whatever it is. So, for folks who don't have time to read or sit in the college classroom, we try to make all that information readily accessible to our community. So that's Black and Highly Dangerous in the podcast, Black and Highly Dangerous podcast in a nutshell. And we're just happy to be here.
Awesome, guys. Go make sure you check out the Black and Highly Dangerous podcast. You guys saw tons of podcasts tonight, so make sure you're subscribing to all these podcasts. Show your support, show your love. Listen in the car, listen wherever you are. Behind the Mask, tell us a little bit about your podcast and what you guys have been most excited about, and the fact that you guys won tonight.
Yeah, I'm Takeo Spikes, and I'm joined alongside by my co-host,
your favorite plus size model, Two-Tone Ray, is in the building.
So, listen, we talk about everything. Kind of a little disappointed that, we didn't win other ones, but we will take it. Very gracious. And it was a long time coming. We just started this podcast less than a year, coming on the year anniversary. And I think it's a true testament to the work that we put in, the countless amount of hours, just dedication, reaching out to contacts, connects, friends, being able to share stories that are never told to the public. Yeah. And so it's definitely a great starting point. And we look forward to spreading the word and sharing everything more.
Yeah, we're definitely honored just to be nominated in several categories. And congrats to all the other winners of the Black Podcast Awards, the inaugural award ceremony. At Behind the Mask, there's only one rule. There are no rules. So we go back into our playing days with former NFL players. We go to our playing days, tell stories from those days before social media was out. So we're really giving the real deal of what happened while we were playing. We get several former athletes, entertainers, politicians, celebrities, you name it. We bring them on. Everybody has a mask, right? We use our mask. Our mask was used for protection, but in everyday world, people use their masks to ward off negativity, to stop other entities from coming too close to them. You know what I mean? So we get behind that mask to see who people are, peel back those layers,
be vulnerable,
see what they're really about. And through that trust factor that we developed over the years, everybody's just pouring their hearts out and telling us the truth. So it's the unadulterated truth, entertaining, true stories. We just bringing it. So we definitely appreciative.
Hey, I got one more thing to say. Shout out to our production team,
Absolutely.
Team State. Appreciate you dudes, Camille,
Kiana, Ty,
yeah, everybody. Black Rob, what's up, though?
Lisa. Yes.
From the beginning, we appreciate you. Yes.
Absolutely. And, right now, especially with COVID happening, we are all really behind all these masks. So it's like, two on point. Frank, you got something to say? What's up?
And I wanted to say, too, when I was listening to you guys' promo reel, who was it that said that they had to run all of those sprints to get out all the alcohol? Yeah, I was like, oh.
No. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and then Clinton Portis had to run.
Yeah, on the Clinton Portis episode. Yeah.
Man, I like that episode. I was a collegiate athlete. I ran track and field. And I remember seeing a lot of the footballers, they would come run track with us thinking, oh, it's going to be easy. We just running. And they be throwing up. And now I'm thinking, was they drinking?
You gotta get it out of the system.
Right.
They were just nervous.
Awesome. Patrice, tell us a little bit about you. And again, also congratulations on your win tonight. Just talk a little bit about your show, and just a little bit background about you.
Okay, so my name's Patrice Washington. I'm known as America's Money Maven, and I've been in personal finance, known as an expert, for like 7 years. And in 2017, I just got tired of going on all the radio shows, the talk shows, and having the same conversation about money, because my true belief was that wealth is so much more than just money and material possessions. The 12th century original definition of wealth is the condition of well-being. And I wanted to really share that, especially with my community, that we out here chasing money. And I'm sure the brothers from behind the mask can attest to this. People get all the money and then they're still empty in so many other areas of their lives. And so I pursued a certification in financial psychology and made my mission about how do I tell stories and share insights from my own life, my own loss during the recession. I had a 7-figure business straight out of college, lost it all in the recession, was at the point of scraping up change and had to rebuild my life. And what I did was not look at budgets and credit reports all day. I had to change a lot of other stuff, a lot of wrong conditioning and limiting beliefs that we picked up. I'm from the hood, I'm from South Central. So you pick up right along the way. And so redefining wealth has been such just a labor of love. And I have to say, I've been at this 3 years. We just hit 3 years. We're crossing 4 million downloads like any day now.
Okay.
And yes, Pat, okay. But I'm really honored to be acknowledged for the work. You know what I mean? Because we all know that producing a podcast is a lot of work. It ain't just like, oh, I'm gonna roll out of bed and say a little something. No, like you have to really put thought and effort into it. And I've been nominated for other areas, but for my first win to come from like my community, you guys, I just checked into a hotel. I was in here jumping around by myself. I was waiting for them to come knock on the door or something, but I feel really blessed and honored. My community is known as purpose chasers. And I just want to keep spreading this message that it's not all about money. Money is the byproduct, but it's really about how we interact in other areas of our lives. And so I'm honored to be here. And big shout out to everyone who was nominated and everyone who took the time to submit an application. And I just want to see you guys continue to do this bigger and better as the years go on, because we really need this. We really need this in our community. So shout out to you guys as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And, when we were listening to all the different promo reels, I definitely had to follow, I followed a lot of the different podcasts, but I remember years and I actually went and borrowed the book because, your girl trying to make 7 figures. So I ain't trying to buy every single book. So I went and borrowed the book, Think and Go Rich, A Black Choice. So when you talked about Dennis Kimber, I'm like, I should actually go read this book because I've heard of it many times before. And I was just like, all right, I guess it's a sign to do that because it's so important for us as the, and we've heard a lot of themes of like wealth building and wealth generation. And so, you had like a unique spin on it. So just seeing that content is very important. And everyone's shows, like, the way everyone put together promo reels, the content on these podcasts. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna keep it honest with you guys. I did not used to listen to podcasts before I had my own podcast. And it wasn't like, oh, I don't like podcasts. It didn't speak to me, right? And then so once I started finding out about like different podcasts, I understood like the struggles and the experiences, and I could resonate a little bit heavier. It just flowed. Like I'm subscribing to all the different shows. I'm just like listening to this, watching this. I'm like, yes, this is the content that really feeds me. And so that was another reason behind the passion that we came together and did the Black Podcasting Awards. Because I'm like, if I feel like I'm a well-versed, well-read, like I like to listen to things and I like to do a lot of things. But if I'm like, I'm not going to listen to this because it doesn't resonate, imagine how many other people are out there. So I know lots of folks found podcasts tonight that, they've never heard of, but go and listen. I'm telling you, we were listening to all these episodes and these reels, and these podcasts really speak to your heart, right? Like it really talks to you and not, talks to you about you. You just feel a sense of like, oh, I'm just sitting in the room and, Patrice right there and I'm listening. I'm like, yes. And then, I'm in the room and behind the mask, the team is there. And I'm like, yes, that is so right. Like, look at Perky just resonated so heavily with these shows. I see we also have Daphne here. What show are you from? If you want to say a couple words.
So I'm also with BHD, signing on to support. I feel like Ty did a really good job of kind of conveying the purpose of our show, but I just think this is a really awesome space. Really excited. Love that you guys started with the Black National Anthem. Shout out to that. So just a beautiful space for Black people. And I think we need this right now, a place to celebrate and a place to just be joyful and happy. So appreciate it.
And I wanted to say something about you guys' podcast, as well as a lot of the other ones that apply. It's a heavy influence of education that goes into putting together our podcast. And unlike Georgie, I did listen to a few podcasts before I did this. Nowhere near as many though. I had my few like favorites. A lot of them was true crime, but I do have a lot of my favorites. And I definitely got introduced to a lot more information through listening to these promo reels and seeing what else is out there. But I did want to shout out you guys' podcast too, because one thing that stuck out for me was that you guys all have degrees, and not just like associates or a bachelor's, which there's nothing wrong with those, but a lot of you guys have doctorates. So I wanted to know, like, how'd you guys find each other? How did you guys decide to make a podcast? Like, what is all of that?
Well, Daph and I, we found each other because we went to the same graduate school. We went to Purdue University. We had overlapping times there. Daph eventually left and went on to bigger things and got her doctorate at Harvard.
Oh,
you know,
stop it.
Heard you.
So we met and we were friends there first, and then after, we both finished our degrees, and we kind of linked up because Daph has another website known as the Ebony Tower to help out Black graduate students. And so I was like, I wanted to start a podcast, and we both had the same kind of wavelength of what we wanted to do for the community and just readily have this information accessible, right, and free, because that's one of the biggest things. You always got to go through a paywall or pay tuition. And so we have this network full of Black doctorates that, folks, you hear of the Michael Eric Dysons, the Mark Lamont Hills, etc. But there's thousands of other Black scholars out there who don't get as much spotlight or highlighted. And so this is why we wanted to create that platform, so that we can, just have free education for our community.
Yeah, I love that. And like, I'm so glad that Perky mentioned that, because I think, within the podcast, just in general, like there was really so much education that no matter if it was comedy, music, travel, like there was just this thick layer of education that you learn something new. You learn how to operate inside of an ecosystem, and you just learned about different people. Because I feel like so many times, like, not feel like, it is true that so many times when you see Black people out there in the media or presented in certain scenes, it's just the negative. And then when you come around in this space, you're talking about wealth, you're talking about sports, transitioning from the pros to now doing this channel of art, you're talking about PhDs, and it's just like true Black excellence. And so just how do you guys like feel about setting like the tone? Like, you guys are literally setting the tone, setting the stage for Black excellence. So anybody could jump in and like just talk about like what they feel behind that.
Well, I'll talk about just the tone that was set, going back to when we first met each other. We actually played against each other in college. I went to Auburn and he went to Ole Miss. And throughout the years, we would see each other, have mutual respect, ended up being teammates, got out of the league. He decided to go get an MBA. The competitive nature in us. I'm like, I'm not about to let you go get an MBA, and I'm not going to get one. And so we went to the University of Miami. Shout out to the U. And we both got that. During that time, I started out writing, and I came up with this concept. I wanted to share a story of Behind the Mask. So I created my book titled Behind the Mask. Volume 1 was dedicated to the linebackers. And so it's out now on all the platforms. So as we continue to go through that, myself, Two-Time, we continue to talk. And just from bridging the gap and just talking to each other, we came up with like, you know what? Let's create the Behind the Mask podcast and share the intimate stories about what's told in the locker room from the educational side. Sometimes we give, not even sometimes, it's most of the time, when you're in those locker rooms and you give your stories to the bigger media sets, they don't necessarily tell the story the way it's supposed to be told. So we really created our platform, and what drives us is being able to corral everybody together, create a space for vulnerability, and allow people to be the author of their own autobiographies.
Definitely. And if you guys ever, dig into it, you see the stories from guys going to jail, guys dealing with divorce, things that you hear that are perceived as negative on your ESPNs or these big networks, but then you hear the other side where it's told from the athlete's point of view, or the entertainer, or the politician. Like, we have politicians on there, the Attorney General of Georgia, he was on there, and we have so many different people. So that goes back to what Takeo said in terms of the educational piece. So it's not solely sports. It's our culture. It's things that affect us. It's everything going on today in America. We touch on every topic, but still bring it back to how we overcame and how we persevered through sports, and how people could persevere now through everything that's going on in America.
Absolutely. And again, sharing those stories, amplifying our voices. Does anybody else want to add in? And I see that we have another person here, Griff. So we're talking about Black excellence and how a lot of these podcasts have education at the foundation, no matter what the alternate themes or topics might be. So does anybody else want to add in before Griff? You could give a quick little introduction after that.
I'll add in a little bit, because coming from a media background, it was really important, for my show, not just keep regurgitating the same information that people get used to you talking about. So I was a regular on a nationally, syndicated talk show. And every time the producers called, it was like, let's talk about budgets. Like, let's move this felt piece of broccoli from one side to the next, and talk about saving at the grocery store. And I'm like, we need more than that. Like, there's so much more that you could talk about that'll empower people in their finances and their wealth building endeavors and all this, than regurgitating the same information as if all we want to be is entertained and not educated. And so I love that you even bring that up, because we do want to be educated. We need to be educated, but it needs to be in ways that are relatable to us, because for so long we've been locked out of conversations with people just, wanting to make things more difficult than they need to be. Wanting to use language to try to go over heads, or, only connect to a certain person in a certain way. And we all know, right? Like, how that goes down. And so I love that you touch on that, because we are educated and excellent. And it's amazing to be able to just start a podcast because you want to, like, because the gatekeepers are gone. And so we don't have to wait for a network to be like, oh, I choose you. I choose myself. Right. So here I am. And this is what's happening, right? And I think that's, like, just amazing. That's the most amazing thing ever, because I don't know, 20 years ago, could we just do that? Or would it be, oh, you have to wait for an agent to sell you to a network, and then they're going to ask you, well, how many Twitter followers do you have, or how much this or how much that? And the fact that we can all have such impact using our education and not making it all about how many Twitter followers or Instagram likes you get, I think is really also incredible, and just a great opportunity. And I hope that more of us come in the space.
Yeah. And I definitely want to add on to that, but I want Griff to introduce themselves first. And then I really want to ask the group a big question.
Let's see. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm Griffin, or the magic voice of Mr. Griff. I'm the voiceover guy, the announcer / MC / DJ who did the announcement of the winners. And
I thought that
I did the intro and outro. You thought it was what?
I thought it was one of those, like, you know how when they have those old crime shows and they put the little thing to the thing.
No, that was me.
Like, I thought it was one of those.
Nah, Griff just hit the base. Griff just hit the base and was like, oh, hello, welcome.
No, that was me. I'm just happy and honored that you guys, that Lance, John, and Makezia put me on to do the announcement for you guys, making a space for ourselves in the current climate, and in this medium that isn't available to us, or isn't as big to us, as long as we're making inroads. And I'm a part of that. I'm all for it. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here with us, Griff. Like, we definitely appreciate. And I'm gonna take just 0.5 seconds to give a shout out to all the volunteers and participants, Perky, because I know you say you have your question. Please don't forget it. But I just really want to reiterate to everyone, like, this was 100% volunteer run. Like, people might be looking at the Kickstarter, like, oh, you guys raised a little over 9,000. After Kickstarter take their percentage, everything else goes to giving out the different awards, giving out the shirts and all the things that the Kickstarter backers are getting, and then investing into next year. So everyone on the team, no one got paid, and we were putting passion, like that was the payment, or passion, seeing this come to life. Like, we really wanted to make sure that this was just not another tweet, just not another thing, and another idea. And so we got, or bootstraps ready, and we just dove right in to make sure that this event happened. This is our MVP. Whoever is listening, watching, if you want to support for next year, we are welcoming you. We lost a few people along the way, life, COVID, family, jobs. Like, there was just so many reasons to say, nah, screw it. We don't got to do this. Like, it don't got to be real. But we said, no, we're going to make this happen in 6 months. We did it, so shout out to all of the volunteers, the judges, the presenters, the speakers, the applicants. Like, shout out to every single person, the viewers that came on, the people that are watching now, because in this moment, this was so necessary. And we'll look back, hopefully, 5-10 years from now, and say, look, that thing that was just like an integral moment has allowed for this bigger and more impactful thing to happen. So shout out to every single body that was a part of it. And Perky, let's know that question so we could chop it up.
Okay, so before I do my question, I just realized I didn't introduce myself. Some of you guys already know me because I've been the one emailing you. But and sorry if my internet is bad. I'm definitely doing this from Jamaica. But my name is Perky. I have my own podcast called Perky Perspectives. So I definitely feel you guys when you say it takes a lot of hard work, energy, and stress sometimes to start a podcast and to get people to come on to talk about and edit and whatever. So applying for a show and having to do a promo reel, like, for some people, that was the hardest part about applying. So definitely shout out to everybody that went ahead and did the promo and did a description and whatever else they didn't already have together. We definitely appreciate the effort. But yeah, my question was for all of you guys that are participating with us, and even for the people that's listening, as Black people, like what Patrice was saying earlier, like having this platform to do it despite how many Twitter followers or whatever that they say we need. How do you guys protect your intellectual property? Because as Black people, we are the creators, and we're not the wave, we're the ocean. We create the waves, and so many people try to come and ride our waves and take what we put so much effort into putting out there. And so I'm just asking you guys, as far as in the podcast world, how do you guys protect your intellectual property and what you put out there for everybody?
That is a powerful one, Perky. You done caught everybody.
So I think for us, what we do is two things. One, anybody that we interact with, we have an NDA. So for people that we hire or people that we share our platform with, they have to sign NDA. I'm sorry, that lets them know that this property, this conversation is ours. Also, there's a firm that we've been talking to, working with in Florida, and honestly, if your information is going to get out there, you have to hire a lawyer. You got to lawyer up. That's the main thing, and make sure that you're protected, because you may have one tagline or one phrase or one thing that you say that catches on and goes viral. And if you see whatever you said on your show that does go viral and somebody picks it up and you see it on the news, and you're like, I mean, not on the news, on like, for us, like Sports Center or something, and you're like, they using our shit. And you want to make sure that you're protected. So honestly, if you can't do it yourself, lawyer up. If not, just Google, find out how to, whatever contracts you need to protect yourself, sign those NDAs, whoever you share your content with, because you never know which meeting that you go into, you share your information with, and at the same time, they're sitting there taking notes and then bringing it to the next person and gonna run with it. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much what we do on our end.
Absolutely. Anybody else want to add?
I'll add something kind of on following along with that. I think trademarks are really important. Sometimes we have really, like you said, catchy ideas, catchy lines, catchy names. And so I think it's very powerful to own your own brand. And for those of you who might not, be able to afford a trademark attorney, Google is your best friend. One of my mottos is that I can do all things through God and Google. And so, there's a lot of information out there about, how to trademark. And if you just go to the trademark website, is there someone doing something similar to what you're doing? To look at their documents. How are they talking about their brand? And that can help you with the phrasing and etc. that you need to fill out the application yourself and maybe do it for like less than $500. So if you do the research, you're either going to spend money or spend time. And if you have the time, do the research and you can file it yourself. You'll be successful.
I'll say this too, because I do have an attorney, and one of my favorite lines is, "When you go low, I'm definitely going legal. I'm not even going to waste time trying to get high. I'm going legal." So I am the queen of a cease and desist, honey. I just forward.
Hey.
My attorney forwards things monthly to people. My listeners always tag me and stuff, but this is the other thing that I've been learning, and I just had a talk with a friend about this last night. Is that with these podcasts, we have such an intimate relationship with our listeners that are really loyal that our language becomes their language. And so you start to see it like more and more and more. And I'm like, dang, that sound like me. Right. But then I realized, well, this is someone who's been listening to me for 2 years. So they don't know when they've kind of crossed the line. Right. Because they think it's just now, it's a part of their vernacular, their language, like their vocabulary. And so, so I'm not above a little like, hey sis, credit. Like, you got to give me credit. Like you saying the quote, like you came up with it and God dropped that in my spirit. Like, so, it's hard though. But my friend was telling me this last night. She's like, you have to remember though, you've been in people's ears over and over again. And so their language becomes your language. So I think we also have to know the fine line between like people who are just now really indoctrinated with our words, with our language, with our way of being, versus someone who's actually trying to take your stuff. Because if you look like you just taking my stuff, well, when you go low, I go legal. Amen.
I love that. And everyone gave like really, really solid advice. Google will be your best friend. If you have the money, hire an attorney, hire a lawyer, have somebody to be that support, because we've seen it so many times where, especially like the younger generation, and I think what are they, Gen Z, right? This is happening a lot. Like their whole lives have been on the internet. So like the girl that started like the renegade dance and things like On Fleek, and they're not getting the payment or the contributions that they're supposed to. So just setting the tone, like it's okay to go to your lawyer and do these things the right way. And I think for me personally, I feel like I grew up I was told certain things like growing up, if you like, you're being stingy if you try to protect your stuff, or like if you're trying to aim for higher. And I think that narrative also needs to change in just how we interact with the world. Like you said, you're in somebody's ear for 2 years. That 10 years ago, the only person in your ear for 2 years is your direct network. It's not hundreds and millions of people around the world. It's just who you talk to on the street, maybe who you pass. And so there is that thin line, and I think making it clear for yourself by either researching like Daphne and Behind the Mask team said, or going over to a legal professional that kind of could watch that for you if you're moving at a faster pace. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to add on that? Any other tips of how to kind of just like protect yourself, protect your IP, your brand while you're creating content, especially through podcasting or any type of like digital content that we have to produce these days?
Well, if nobody has to share, I do want to ask one more thing. I'm coming with these heavier questions, sorry. But I'm a mental health therapist. That's my day job. And so, like we said, we've been pretty overwhelmed, like planning this and trying to battle whatever other daily triumphs and tribulations we have ourselves. But we wanted to know from you guys, like, how have you guys been practicing self-care? How have you guys been staying motivated to continue with the podcast? And just everything during COVID, during whatever quarantine or whatever you have to do. Like, and is there any tips that you guys have to share for the people that listen to you about how to take care of your mental health? Oh, and just to add on top of that, September is Suicidal Prevention Awareness Month. So I don't know if you guys want to touch on that either, but yeah, that's my question.
Yes, Perky with the heavy hitters. Feel free to jump on that anybody, and I'll add a few comments towards the end. Don't be shy now, y'all. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think the one thing that the one pivot we had to deal with COVID, or the major pivot we had to deal with COVID, was we did our podcast in studio initially, and when COVID hit, the studios were shut down, so we didn't have an in-house studio that would put out the quality of the content that we wanted to do, so we had to go virtual. So it was a matter of finding what browser to use, what platform to distribute it on, et cetera, and how it will work with producers, et cetera. But I think again, going back to the perseverance, right? If we weren't doing this for a reason other than the monetary value, what was the point of doing it? You know what I mean? Like, obviously everybody wants to make money, but initially, you're not going to just come out the gate getting banked off of doing a podcast, right? It's almost like when you first got on Twitter and you were tweeting and nobody replied, you felt like you were talking to yourself. So it's like, now we figured it has to be more, right? And the people that we did engage over the 6-7 months prior to COVID or whatever it was, they still were wanting content. So Tequila was like, we have to find a way to continue to put out this content. So that and encouraging our team to be like, we still got to put this out. It kind of it got us closer. It became more of it wasn't an in-person thing. So I had to trust, this producer. I had to trust Tequila. Tequila had to trust me that we were doing our jobs remotely and still being able to come together and put out solid content. But yeah, for me, I think just staying with it and knowing that goal, whatever your end goal is, you still have to continue to dig away, to move those obstacles and meet it head on. You're not going to receive everything initially, but shout out to the Black Podcast Awards for actually, this is our first award. So we sitting there hype,
Oh, yeah.
I haven't received anything in awards since, I did receive an award last year, but I haven't received an award for in this realm since we played ball. You know what I mean? So it's greater later. It's greater later. So just keep pushing, regardless of what else is going on in your life. We've had people that we know that passed away from COVID, and it's just a tough time right now with everything going on, the social injustices. But know that we're here for a reason. And as you're putting these podcasts out, somebody's listening. You're making somebody's day. You're giving somebody hope. You're telling a story that somebody's going to laugh at when otherwise they had a bad day. So you're doing something right. So just keep pushing.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to add comments on that? Just, how do you manage with everything that's going on with your mental health and the mental health of your listeners?
Yeah, I think that's important. And to piggyback off this, I think having the space, because we know that the social climate, especially for Black folks, can be really mentally taxing in a lot of ways, what's going on in the social justice world and just everyday lives of Black folks. And I think for me personally, having a podcast has been cathartic, right? Where Daph and I can come and every week talk about it and get it out, right? Because sometimes you're thinking about it, you're reading about it, you're watching, you're viewing it, whatever it is. And so the fact that, I have this space that every week I can look forward to come talking about and just getting my feelings out there, right? Sometimes academic, sometimes just raw emotions is just how I feel, right? In that moment about what's going on. And I think that's important for me personally, but also I think the listeners, like you said, get out a lot of that too, because they are looking forward to hearing what we have to say about it, because they may be feeling the same way. And sometimes how we can get when somebody speaks to your soul, you do that little hand clap, you do the hand nod, whatever it is, and you keep it moving. I imagine my listeners doing that sometimes when we're just getting our vibes off as far as how we feel. So I think the podcast is a part of me just keeping my mental health at a nice balance and being therapeutic for myself.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I want to say this and really appreciate the opportunity for the Black Podcast Awards. Would love to sit here and chop it up with you more, but because we have to, since we won Best Sports Podcast, we got to cover this Sunday night game, and we got to go. But congratulations to all the winners. I'll make sure I definitely keep up with everybody. It was an honor, and we look forward to seeing what happens next year and see how many other people that we inspire.
Also, congratulations to the Black Podcast Award on y'all inaugural awards. That's heavy, that's major. So, you know what I mean? Salute to you guys, all the best. Thank you for giving us a platform and continue to give more people a platform, inspire. Y'all doing y'all thing is for the culture. Black excellence is beauty at its finest. So we definitely appreciate y'all.
All right, thank you, and have a good time covering the game, guys. Go check out Behind the Mask and continue here listening as we do the rundown of the after party. So I think Patrice, you were gonna add something. You look like you wanted to say a comment.
I did, but I don't know where it went. So, it was about mental health. I'm sorry.
Yes, yeah, no problem.
Mental health. It was about just, I really believe that mental health is the foundation. Like at Redefining Wealth, we have the 6 pillars of wealth, and we say the 5th pillar is about being physically and mentally fit. And that this whole time was, I think, a wake-up call for us in particular. I feel like to take our mental health more seriously. And I do think that podcasts are such a reprieve for so many people that personally I couldn't even imagine not showing up. Because like Tyrell said, I believe it's like you imagine the listener looking forward to this, like this being the bright spot in their week when they've been inundated with negative news and, hearing of family friends or whomever, like coming down with COVID or all these things. I felt like a sense of responsibility to keep showing up. Like I felt a sense of responsibility to pray for my community, to give them tools and resources that would just continue to support them. Because, like back in the day, we had church, right? Like the Black community used to go to church and that's how they would get. And now we're like in a season where that's broken down in a lot of ways and you couldn't physically go to church. And for some people, this would be the only inspiration or encouragement they would get in the week. And so, yeah, I just felt like it was a responsibility to keep showing up, and to not show up with content that didn't acknowledge what was going on. Because I did see a lot of people doing that. Like, we're just going to use what we pre-recorded, months ago and act like nothing is happening. And I think we really needed people to just validate our feelings and, all the things that were going on. And podcasts are just such a great way to do that. So that's all I want to say.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'll just add a few sentences to this, and it's just how important, like Perky said, how, and everybody has repeated how important mental health in this time is. And like I've mentioned, a few members of our teams had various things happen. I experienced a phase where it was just like, I don't know what's going on in the world. I don't know where I belong in the world, and I think it was specifically around June, right? So we had Juneteenth, and then there was like the death of George Floyd, and then there was like the Breonna Taylor. So it was just like, what is life? Like, what does my existence even mean right now in this world? And it just is like, do Black lives really matter? Or is that just something that we kind of yelling and hoping, like, the Behind the Movement said, you're sending these messages out on Twitter and nobody's replying. Are we just like yelling into the universe and not hearing that response? And so, having the space of the Black Podcasting Awards, knowing that was coming up, and then kind of seeing the response that the public took, a lot of organizations that put, the Black Lives Matter sign or, Black Power logo, and just like really said, I'm going to step up and show up and, start these $100 million funds and do these initiatives. And it sucks that it had to get to this point before like the action was taken, because I believe in preventative measures. What could we have done before? But it's still grateful that it did happen, because we didn't want to have this happen 20 years from now, another 30 years from now, kind of still fighting the same battles folks were fighting 60 years ago, right? And so, it's just a great thing to see that we're moving the needle, things are actually happening. And everyone out there, make sure, we had a list of wellness podcast, and we're going to be listing the nominees and the winners. And check out these series, just having a space to share your ideas, share your mind, have conversations, slide into somebody's DM, comment, and just be a part of the full experience with each other. Because although we are together, you are not alone. Anyone that is out there, that is looking for support, looking for direction, listen to a podcast, read a book, talk to a friend, call somebody on FaceTime, and participate as much as you can, and reach out if you do need any support and help. As well as remember that there are hotlines for suicide prevention. There are hotlines for domestic violence, and next month, October, is the domestic violence awareness month. So if you are in need of help, please reach out. There is somebody or some place that you can get counseling or support, various channels. So please use the resources that are available to you, is the final piece of advice I would give for everyone.
Yes, but outside of that, I would like to say thank you for everybody for sharing this after show time with us. Thank you guys for participating in the nomination process. If you guys are not, how about this? If you want to have any type of involvement with the Black Podcasting Awards in the future in any way, we're doing events in between the next big event. We can always use judges, we can always use speakers, we can always use performers, we can always do interviews and cross promotion and anything like that. So definitely please keep in touch with us. We would like to continue this support. So yeah, share it out. Let everybody know you won. Like, let us know if you need the logo or something so that you could put it on.
Girl, you don't have to tell me that. You gotta tell me to share with everybody. No, I'm playing.
But I mean, you a podcast host. Sometimes you gotta tell people to share. So, but yeah, so we would love to continue to support everybody. I personally was the nominations director, and finding judges to help this process was like we said, COVID was happening. It was a headache. So if you guys want any type of participation like that moving forward, please let us know. But outside of that, I just wanted to say thank you guys again for participating. I'm so proud of everybody. I feel like a mom. Like, I don't have no kids, but my babies.
Absolutely. And so we're just gonna close out the after party now. Thank you for everyone that showed up, everyone that won awards, everyone that was nominated, like all the thank yous. And thank you to God, thank you to the energies, the forces, everything, whatever you call it, right? There are greater forces beyond us working that was able to make this happen tonight, as well as everyone that showed up, participated, and did the work. And we are so appreciative of everyone. And just echoing Perky, if you want to support for 2021, we want you. Come here. If you want to sponsor, reach out to us. We have sponsorship opportunities. Folks that are, that back to Kickstarter, look out in your inbox, because now the show is over, but the event continues. And look out in your inbox this coming week for next steps on the Kickstarter, how you can redeem your prizes and just everything, that all the different placements. So please respond to those emails. If you watch tonight, a cousin, a friend, family, colleague that should have watched, it's live. The show is still available on YouTube as well as on Facebook. Share. Let's get this out there. Let's get people noticing this. And thank you again times a million for everyone tonight. And we look forward to next year for seeing everyone at the 2021 Black Podcasting Awards. Good night and goodbye. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, guys.
Awesome. Georgie out.